Hi everyone, I'm presenting a procedural how-to video on uploading your work done. The deadline is the 5th of October 2020. So procedures and criteria for uploading to Google Drive to your teacher file. Okay, so firstly you're going to need a folder with your course, so English or biology, maths, and stage 1 to 6, 7 to 8, 9, IGCSE, AS, and A level. You will need a folder, again course, English, biology, French, and the stage. Please note your scheme of work number, and theme or unit folder. Again, course or stage, scheme of work number, and assessment for learning session. Folder 1 will be your July assessment for learning sessions. Then you'll make a folder AFL session 2, which will have your October 2020 session. And then you'll make another folder for your November, December assessment for learning sessions. So you will have 3 assessment for learning folders. And then you will have 30 block space practice folders, 1 for the moment. Your second one will be in January that you'll put that up. So these are your main folders. Okay, so in your course, English, biology, French stage, so IGCSE or stage 1, you will have in this the complete Cambridge reference material. So past papers that you've used to design for lessons, used for lesson design, specimen papers, your scheme of work, your full complete scheme of work, your teacher guide, the learner guides if there are, curriculum frameworks or syllabi, and then other guides or supplementary materials. For IGCSE and ASA level, you must please put in the next steps into this folder. Now, if you have not yet received your password, or you've forgotten your passwords, or Cara must reset them or register you on the school hub, you must WhatsApp Cara, include your name and your Seahouse Live email address. Okay, so that's one folder with all that material. Now, if you don't have specimen papers or you don't have past papers or a learner guide, then you don't have to put them into this folder. Right, and there's just a clarification for you for your theme or unit folder. This must come directly from your scheme of work. Your scheme of work. This must come directly from your scheme of work. So let's look at this theme or unit folder a little bit more carefully. Your scheme of work. Now, your scheme of work is as I've said to you, and I don't mean this in a blasphemous way, is your Bible. This is what your folder, your heading for your folder and any subfolders comes from your scheme of work. So let's look at an example. And here I'm taking a biology scheme of work, cell structure, and the microscope in cell studies. So you will see that the cell structure, one cell structure, is your main folder heading, and into that will go 1.1, the microscope in cell studies. So if we go back, I've used exactly the titles from the scheme of work. I've used exactly the titles from your scheme of work. This is vital, not your textbook chapter headings, your scheme of work headings for your folders. So into the scheme of work labeled folder will go your MP4, your FFP, guided note, or PowerPoint, or any other programs or platforms you use to make your MP4. That goes into the folder. Now, if you have subfolders, as I demonstrated, then each of those subfolders should have its own MP4, FFP, a guided note, and the PowerPoint you used, or any other programs or platforms made to may use to make the MP4. So here you will see that's the one folder that you need inside your theme unit folder. Then you're going to have active learning activities or tasks, a folder, assessment for learning activity or task, your corresponding Cambridge reference with specific pages scanned or copied. You'll have a folder, other research, video clips, etc. You'll have question and command word design. You'll have rehearsal and interleafing activities or tasks, and you'll have retrieval activities or tasks. So there are 8 subfolders in your main theme or unit folder. There are 8 subfolders. Then if you have a subfolder like we illustrated with Mary's biology, so cell structure is her main one. In that she'll have her main FFP, her guided note, her PowerPoint, and or other programs used to make the PowerPoint. Okay. Then if she has a subfolder, which she does in this particular unit, she will have an MP4, a guided notes, PowerPoint, and or other programs used to make the MP4 in that subfolder. Okay. In addition, she will have in the main folder the active learning, etc., etc. Then again, she might have in this folder, her subfolder, active learning, rehearsal activities, etc. Okay. Now, for another example here, we've got a work scheme from the primary program. Here it's fiction, Unit 1A, real life stories. Now that will be the main folder. Unit 1A, real life stories, will be the main folder. Then in that folder, you will have an FFP explaining what a real life story is, etc., etc. You'll have the PowerPoint or material you use to make that MP4 and the guided notes. Then there might be a subfolder, Nelson Mandela. There might be another one, Queen Elizabeth I, and another one about a Viking trader. So those will each have a subfolder. Okay. Right, now your corresponding Cambridge reference folder is extremely important to put into your unit or theme folder. It's important because I want to see which specific pages you used from your scheme of work. You can scan or copy it like I did with Mary's. And I want to see it annotated. So it should include, for example, the corresponding textbook name and location, pages that you used, any teacher notes that you've got on your work scheme, and your assessment objectives, clearly marked which assessment objectives you are looking at in your scheme of work. You may then have, for example, gone to the teacher guide and found some information there that you've used for this specific theme or sub-theme. And then you may have gone to your curriculum framework or syllabus, and there you found specific information as well as the scheme of work. So your scheme of work is number one. Then you may have found information in other materials from Cambridge, and I want that scanned and copied, annotated, and stuck into this folder, which will be in your main theme or unit folder. So this goes into your main folder. So there it is. That's that folder that's gone into your main theme or unit folder. Your FFP guided note folder is inside there. Your active learning activities is inside. Your assessment for learning activities is inside. Your corresponding Cambridge reference material is in a folder inside your main theme or unit. Now, at this point, I want to ask you, please, to use the correct titles on your folders. Should be 8 subfolders per theme and then per sub-theme or sub-unit. What is very, very important here is that you make the folders. You may not fill the folders right now. That's completely fine. That is completely fine if you don't fill the folder. You do not need to fill the folder, but I want you to have the folders correctly filed in your drive. Just a reminder that you must use exactly the titles from your scheme of work to title your folders, please. They must be exactly as they are stipulated in your scheme of work. So again, Here are your active learning activities or tasks, worksheets, links to a Flipgrid, link to a Padlet. So anything you did that encouraged active learning here goes into this file or subfolder within your main unit folder. Again, if you've got subfolders, they will go into this folder with an active learning. They'll have an active learning section. The same for assessment for learning. But this isn't assessment for learning as a session. This is within the lessons, within that unit or subunit. What assessment for learning are you doing? So this is about specifically in that unit, during the teaching, during the lessons, during the presentation, what are you doing for assessment for learning? Then we go on to a sub-theme or unit. What assessment for learning are you doing in that sub-theme? Then this folder called Other. That's where you put your teacher research, any videos you used or clips that you found, anything on the internet, websites. Just type it out and put in a Word document, or, where have you got your information from, where you've collected information or video links or so on. So that goes into the other. Here, questions formulated according to Bloom's and paper, exam paper, question paper, command words. It is imperative that I see what sort of questions you're asking, that you are giving thought to your questioning. Type them out on a Word document or on a PowerPoint, however you want to present it, but somewhere, if not already, in the future, I want to start seeing what questions you're asking. Are you asking questions that start to look at the higher levels of Bloom's in the classes, that you're getting away from the what, where, when, and then also what are you doing about teaching your students about command words, the Cambridge command words? This is just that really good Bloom's taxonomy model that I gave out earlier this year. It's really good. You should really try and use it when developing your questioning. Then here, what rehearsal, interleafing worksheets, quizzes, activities and tasks have you done during this unit, or during one of the sub-themes or sub-units? The same goes for retrieval activities. Have you done a probe for gaps? Have you done a statement strategy where they've gone back and looked for material? Have you done a crossword? What have you done in terms of retrieval activities during the unit or the sub-unit? So during the lessons, during Zoom, during the presentation of the unit. Okay, and then here, so this is your next big main folder. Remember you had 4 in the beginning. So this is your first 30 block space practice. I'd like to see what activities you formulated for your 30 block space practice, so your 11 or 12 or 8 activities, and or links to the activities typed out on a Word document or so on, placed in this folder. 30 block space practice 1 It's our first 30 block space practice. So in that placeholder goes number 1. And then here, your assessment for learning session 1 will be your July session. So I want your MP4 memo, your assessment objectives, your Bloom's level, all of that you did for your memo. I want all of your learner papers. I want the final mark schedule. What did each child receive in terms of marks in this folder? The papers and the scope. And the scope must come from the scheme of work. The scope must come from the scheme of work. Then, for October, your assessment for learning session 2 is October. The memos due, I think, on the 5th, the MP4. You will put into your assessment for learning session folder 2. And then when you've done marked your learners' papers and your mark schedule and the paper, the scope, I think you've got your scope already, you can stick it into assessment for learning session 2 folder. Then at the end of the year, you'll have an assessment for learning session 3. Same applies. Same applies. The assessment for the unit design for higher achievement form that I am still working on, because I just don't know how to do it really. I'm still stuck on this, but I will get this to you ASAP. This will go into your main folder for the unit that you're teaching, but I do not have it ready yet. I'm still working on it. Okay. Finally, guys, your schemes of work. The reason I've said to you and stressed that they must be used as your basis for your teaching, development of lessons, design, your strategies, is because they are so well thought through. The textbook is your supplementary material where the child or student learner can find additional material. But this has your learning outcomes, your assessment outcomes, criteria, your extension activities, independent study, formative assessment. There's your AFL. It's right there. They give you ideas. And then your suggested teaching activities. I cannot stress strongly enough that your scheme of work is the basis of your teaching. Sorry to go on about it, but it's really important. So as soon as you go into your Google Drive, you're going to make 4 main folders. One will have all your Cambridge reference material. 2 will have your theme or unit. Now, hopefully you've done more than one, and so you might have 3, 4, 5, or 6 of those. Each unit or theme has its own big folder. And then you've got your assessment for learning session 1, and certainly you're starting to put things into session 2, assessment for learning session 2 folder. And up until now, you've got one 30 block space practice folder. So those are your main folders. They must be marked correctly with your course, English, biology, French, etc., and the stage. So from stage R to stage 9 or 8 for checkpoint, IGCSE 1 or IGCSE 2 AS1, AS2, or A level. And if you come to the next slide, just to go through that again, here are your stages. Cambridge Primary reception works on stage 1. Glenda, you know what to do there. Cambridge Lower Secondary uses stages 7 to 9. Cambridge Upper Secondary is IGCSE 1 and IGCSE 2. And then Cambridge Advanced is AS1, AS2, and A level. Please don't put in the year. So don't put in IGCSE 2020 or 2021. This is something we want to use into the future. So please don't use years. It will just be very complicated. If you are unsure in any way about the procedures and criteria for uploading to Google Drive to your teacher folder, do one example and then ask me to check it on my WhatsApp. Guys, WhatsApp me and say, Joe, I've set up a unit folder. Will you check it for me? I don't want errors, guys. I don't want things being put in and then taken out and then we don't know where we are. It must be done correctly from the beginning. So please check before you set everything up and you've not put your subfolders in correctly and so on and so forth. It is a big job. Remember though, please don't worry if some of your folders are empty for now. We will add to them as we create material, as we go along. So some of your folders might in fact be empty, and that is fine, but please make the folders. Okay, guys, I hope this has been clear. It's a very long video. I really apologize for that, but we must get this right. Take care, good luck, and WhatsApp me if you have any problems whatsoever.